So I know you mentioned that another area for improvement was your follow-up plan.
What follow-up plan?
This is Nutrition for Your Business, the show where we simplify business building tactics that actually work. Hi, I'm Abigail.
And I'm Ashley.
And on today's episode of Nutrition for Your Business, we're doing something a little bit different. So I'm going to be interviewing Ashley about her first experience running a group nutrition program and all of the mistakes she made so that when you go to run your next group nutrition program, you can avoid making the same mistakes yourself.
Yeah, we truly believe that in business, it is so important to learn from other people's mistakes so that you can make gains in your business a lot faster instead of experiencing a bunch of unnecessary setbacks. So knowing what not to do is actually just as valuable, if not more valuable, than knowing what to do.
Right. So now you might know Ashley as the growth lead here at That Clean Life, but what you might not know is that Ashley used to work as a nutritionist at a really busy clinic. So she's been in the trenches, she knows what it's like, and she has so many great insights to share. Now, Ashley, I've heard you say that running a group nutrition program was an absolute game changer for your business.
Yeah, definitely. And I for sure stand by this. Group programs were the ultimate game changer for my business. They allowed me to work with multiple clients at once while still seeing my usual one-on-one clients.
Group nutrition programs are also great because they allow people to experience what it is like to work with you over a really short period of time without having to make a big commitment.
Absolutely. Group programs are going to have a lower price point than your one-on-one offerings, but they're going to increase the number of people that you're able to work with, which will then increase the amount of clients that are referred to you. Some of your group program participants will then go on to become one-on-one clients, and some will refer their friends and family back to the program.
Right. Okay, so why don't we start off by getting a bit of an overview of your first group nutrition program? So give us some context.
All right, so my first group program was called the 6-week Healthy for the Holidays Reset Program, and it was focused on general healthy eating. It was 6 weeks long, and the cost per person was $180 to sign up. I ran it through the clinic where I was working, so I did have an existing audience to promote the program too.
Okay, so right off the bat, would you say that your group program was a success?
I would say it was a success in terms of signups. So we had 36 signups, which brought in an additional $6,480 in sale for that 6-week period. But the number of signups is not nearly as important as the client experience. And if I could go back in time, there are so many things that I would have done differently to make this program more valuable for the participants, easier for me to manage, and then better overall for my business.
Right. Okay. So let's dive into this. What's the first thing that you would have done differently?
Okay. So first of all, as I already mentioned, my program was focused on general healthy eating. And that's it. It was just healthy eating, which is kind of vague. And that was a big mistake because my program didn't solve a specific problem. The goal was just to help people eat healthy for 6 weeks, which didn't do much to attract my ideal client, which was young women struggling with IBS.
But you still had 36 people sign up, right?
I did. So luckily, because I worked at a good-sized clinic, I had access to an email list full of people who already knew me and already liked me, and I was able to market the program to them. But if I didn't, I seriously doubt that I would have had as many signups.
Right, and I think this is really common. Many health professionals go really general with the topic of their group program because they want to create something that appeals to everyone, right? But they think that by focusing in on a really specific topic, they might lose out on potential clients.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. But here's the thing. By trying to please everyone with keeping the topic general, I actually end up pleasing no one.
What do you mean by that?
So all of my participants were struggling with completely different problems coming from different walks of life. And because of this, I had a really hard time keeping people engaged. A lot of the people who signed up ended up falling off on me because I wasn't doing anything to speak to their unique problems.
So if you had to go back and do it all over again, what kind of topic would you choose for your group program?
So I would have chosen a topic that relates to my specific niche market, which, like I mentioned, was young women with IBS-C. And I would ensure that the program solved one of their very specific problems, like constipation.
But do you think you'd have a hard time attracting signups when you focus in on such a specific type of person and problem like this?
I actually think that with the right marketing strategy in place, I could have attracted even more signups. And the reason is that marketing the program would have been a lot easier if I could have targeted a specific market of people. And then when they did sign up, they would have been so much more motivated to stick with the program because they'd be likely to see amazing results with a really specific problem that they had. So this whole thing of not solving a real problem ended up being a major issue. And unfortunately, of those 36 people who signed up, maybe 10% of them actually had a really good life-changing experience and had their health transformed by my program. As a practitioner, that doesn't make me feel good at all. Obviously, I want 100% of my clients to have amazing results, and I really would have been okay with fewer participants if it meant a higher success rate.
What is the next big mistake you made with the program?
Okay, so kind of going to that client experience side of things, the weekly meal plans I provided were just way too complicated. I made the mistake of creating the meal plans more with myself in mind than with my clients. And the participants who dropped off on me said it was because the plans just took way too much time to follow. And this sucks because healthy eating doesn't have to be complicated, and I really should have shown up to show that to my participants.
Right. So what would you do differently with the meal plans if you were running it again?
I would do a lot of things differently. So first, I'd offer weekly meal plans that were full of easy to make recipes, things like one-pan meals that take 30 minutes or less. These people weren't chefs. I'd also ensure that the plans were realistic for anyone who's trying to eat healthy but doesn't have a lot of time. So it's okay to oversimplify. And along the way, I learned that 10 to 12 recipes per week is actually the perfect number, and that anything above that decreases adherence.
Okay, so I know that many of our members worry about providing a meal plan that's too simple, and they feel like they need to provide new and exciting meals to try every day. But I'd argue it's actually the opposite. So I think that people in today's world are really looking for simplicity. And I think that we as health professionals can prove to them that they can eat healthy without having to spend a ton of time on it.
Yeah.
So choosing easy recipes and structuring the plan so that it's really easy to follow can be life-changing for participants.
Absolutely. Which actually reminds me of another problem with the meal plans. It was that I would ask my clients to prep their lunch every night for the next day. And most of them did not have time in the evenings for that. And even if they did have time in the evenings, they definitely didn't want to spend it prepping food. That excites me, doesn't excite them. Making dinners at home for these people was already a really big step.
Right. Cook once, eat multiple times, right? People really love this. So a pro tip for all of you guys designing meal plans for your group programs, on top of keeping the plan super simple, don't be afraid to use leftovers.
Right, so what I would recommend doing is add dinners to the plan that will create enough leftovers for your clients to take the next day for lunch. So this way they only have to prep one meal and make it simple, and they cook one easy meal for dinner one night, pack up the leftovers, and they've got lunch the next day.
All right, love that. So many great lessons here already. What else did you learn from this group program?
Okay, so my next learning is that I really should have charged more. $180 for 6 weeks of working with a nutritionist, even in a group setting, is way too little. That's only $30 a week. And my program was definitely worth a lot more than that, especially when you factor in the amount of time that I was spending managing participants, answering their questions, creating meal plans, shopping lists, prep guides, all that good stuff.
But do you think you would have gotten as many people to sign up if the price was higher?
Okay, so maybe not. But when you charge more, you don't need to get as many signups, and the people who do sign up are going to be more higher quality participants.
Right. Okay. So as an example, if you charge clients $10 to participate in your program, you would need 100 clients to make $1,000.
Right.
But if you charge them $100, you only need 10 of them to make that same $1,000.
Exactly. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather charge more and serve fewer clients so that my focus is 100% on them and ensuring that they're successful and having an amazing experience. And in the case of my program, so many people saw the low price tag and they signed up just to try it, but they weren't fully committed, which was of course pretty good for me in terms of short-term financial gain, but long-term it was not good for converting the participants of my group program into successful raving clients.
So looking back, what do you wish that you would have charged?
That's a great question. So based on what I know now, I would say that for a 6-week group program that solves a really specific problem for a niche market, like for example, IBS-C, I would probably recommend charging between $500 and $600. So based on that, it means that I would have only needed 10 to 12 participants to make that exact same amount of money that I made with 36 participants, plus their outcomes would have been so much better.
Love that. So I know you mentioned that another area for improvement was your follow-up plan.
What follow-up plan? One of my biggest mistakes is that I didn't have a follow-up plan when that program ended. So at the end of 6 weeks, my program was coming to an end, and I decided I would send out one lone email to the participants letting them know that they could receive 20% off a one-on-one consultation with me if they were interested in building on the group program experience with a more personalized approach to their nutrition. But that was it. I did not follow up again.
And you think that if you would have followed up, you probably would have converted more of the participants into one-on-one clients?
Absolutely. Only announcing that special offer once was a huge mistake. And I definitely could have converted way more of my group program participants into one-on-one clients if I would have taken the time to follow up with that offer. What I know now about sales is that the majority of conversions happen after multiple follow-ups. So skipping that was a huge mistake.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me, I want to know exactly what your follow-up plan would look like if you were doing this all over again.
Okay, so I would definitely, instead of sending out just one single email, send out a series of emails. The first would still be that email at the end of the program presenting the offer, but then I would follow up 2, maybe 3, or even more times reminding people about that offer. I would also switch the offer up a little bit, so I would put a deadline on it, maybe like only available for 48 hours, to create a sense of urgency and encourage more people to take action on it versus just sitting on the idea.
That's such a good idea. We know that limited time offers are much more effective than an offer with no deadline.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot already, but are there any other mistakes that you want to throw in there?
Of course there are. I made so many mistakes during my first group program. So my next big mistake was that I built this program and I only ran it one time. And I spent so much time creating this 6-week program, ran it once, and then boom, that was it. On to the next. I created a whole new program, new meal plans, new grocery lists, picked all new recipes, wrote all new prep guides. This required so much of my work, which I'd already invested in round 1, to basically go in the garbage, and then I had to redo it again for the next one.
Right, and I think this is common. I think that a lot of health professionals fall into this trap and they get stuck in this constant creation mode instead of taking what they've already created and just focusing on making that better.
Exactly. So looking back, I would collect feedback from my participants once the program wrapped up, and then I would use that feedback to improve the program with the intent to run the exact same thing again. And it would have been even easier to do this if I was solving a specific problem with my program, because I could have expanded my pool of leads, had a bunch of testimonials from my ideal clients. Instead, what I did was basically take that same group of participants and try to sell them a new version of the same experience.
Right. So I think the big lesson here is you do not need to go back to the drawing board with every single group program that you run.
Right. Definitely not. Create one single awesome group program that solves a specific problem really well, and you can run it multiple times, improving every single round and reducing the amount of time that you have to spend on the setup process.
Okay, so there is seriously so much gold we've talked about today, so let's do a quick recap. If you were to run your group program again, you would 1, focus on a really specific problem to solve for your ideal client.
Yeah.
2, create more simplified meal plans that use leftovers.
For sure.
3, increase the price.
Definitely.
And 4, send more follow-up emails with your limited time bonus offer.
Yes.
And then also you'd collect feedback and use it to improve the program and run it again next time instead of creating an entirely new one.
Exactly. I really, really believe that these small changes would have drastically improved the quality of participants that I was attracting to the program, made them into all of them success stories, and then increased the amount of money that I made from the program both upfront and definitely over time.
Love that, for sure. Like you said at the beginning, group nutrition programs are such a powerful way to scale your business.
Absolutely. And I stand by this because coaching clients one-on-one is really rewarding, but it's also a lot of work. And you do eventually hit a ceiling if you're trading your time for money. But with group programs, you can take on multiple clients at once. You can increase your impact by helping more people and boost your income, all without burning yourself out.
Love it. Okay, friends, that is all for today. Ashley, thank you so much for sharing all these insights with us, and thank you all for tuning in and spending this time with us today. We'll catch you on the next episode of Nutrition for Your Business.
Lately you've been running through my mind. Lately I can't even find the time.